Yo, it's the Third Party Podcast, Season 2, Episode 8 with Mukhtara Kennedy.
Hey everybody, this is Mukhtara Kennedy. I am the founder of BAMBAR, and we are on the Third Party Podcast.
Yo, it's the Third Party Podcast. I'm Muslim Kaysen, a.k.a. the Muslim Boxer, and I'm here with my co-host, Rod DeVoe.
Yo, Rod DeVoe, Third Party Podcast. Listen, we got a very intriguing and great show today. We got Mukhtara Kennedy. Mukhtara Kennedy, born and raised from Brooklyn, New York. We got New York in the house.
Yo, son.
For sure.
Word the mother.
Word the mother.
Word the mother.
In 2020, Mukhtara founded BAMBAR, a group exclusively for Black American Muslims. Born and raised Black American Muslims.
Yes.
Mukhtara has served for many years on the Medina Women's Committee at Masjid Taqwa in Brooklyn. That's the famous.
That's the famous masjid.
That's the famous masjid in Brooklyn, Masjid Taqwa.
Yes.
Who the
Imam Siraj.
Imam Siraj.
Yes.
Famous.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
Professionally, Mukhtara has an associate's degree in community and human services, which she has used to impact the lives of children.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Mukhtara.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Everybody know Mukhtara.
Everybody. That's what I said. This is sis right here. So it's like,
listen, up and down the East Coast.
Absolutely. Mukhtara is known.
SubhanAllah.
All right, so
I know a lot of people. That's true.
Listen, I there's probably nowhere you will go in the Black community where they're like, yeah, oh, that's my home. Like, they not even like, oh yeah, I've heard of her. They like, that's my sis.
You were born and raised in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Right? How was that from an Islamic perspective? Like growing up, born and raised in Brooklyn.
Okay, how was that from an Islamic perspective? That's interesting. Well, first of all, I would say that I attend Masjid Taqwa, so I grew up in that masjid, and so it's in the hood, right? So it's not like, we were secluded. It's in the hood. So alhamdulillah, my parents were actually one of the founders of that masjid. So back in the 80s, when they were doing a lot of drugs in that area, they cleaned it out, mashallah. So it was very pleasant for us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They respected us. There was a lot of respect. We wore our kimars with pride, mashallah. And it was great being Muslim in Brooklyn.
So you come from a big family?
It's medium. It ain't too big, but it's big enough.
Yeah, how many siblings you got?
I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers.
Where do you fall
passed away.
In that life?
I'm the youngest girl.
You're the baby.
My brother's he's under me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the baby of the girls.
Yes, I'm the baby of the girls.
Man, sure.
Grew
up 90s. How was it in the 90s?
It was
in
fun.
New York?
I enjoy being Black
fun.
and Muslim in Brooklyn.
They were very proud.
What? Yes, I had fun.
New York Muslims and Philly Muslims are like they hold that thing
down for sure.
They hold it down.
For sure.
Like you
for sure.
They don't play. They
For
hold
sure.
Islam to a standard that most of a lot of the communities were just starting to, but y'all was holding it down.
Absolutely. I've done seen some things growing up. I can't say everything,
Okay.
but mashallah, the brothers at Masjid Taqwa really put in work in terms of cleaning up that area, in terms of establishing, just some dignity where people could walk down the block and you don't have to see people shooting up, what I'm saying, and doing all of that.
So was it a particular I know here in Philly, it was a couple different movements, like the Dar Islam movement. Was it a particular affiliation that your family had, or?
So I'll get into that. So my dad, he actually took Shahada in prison. He told me, but it was affiliated through the nation.
Okay.
Right. So that's where he took Shahada.
Okay.
My mother took Shahada through a community called the Ansar Law Community.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys heard of Dr. Malachi York.
Yes.
Okay. So his community was on Bushwick Avenue in Brooklyn, but mainly most of the communities kind of started from State Street Masjid.
Okay.
So the Dar Islam movement started from there. Even Malachi York was there, and then they branched off and started their own communities.
Okay.
And then you have the Nation of Islam. who, they did the mass conversion to Imam W.D. Muhammad's community. So we have different communities, different movements. The Tablighi Jamaat was in New York too, right? The Ansars, the Dar. Who else was in there? It was a few different other movements and communities that was happening in Brooklyn growing up and before I was born too. My sister's era, that's the 70s babies. Yeah.
So did you go to like regular schools? You go into Muslim schools? You go to public school?
So I had everything. I had a little bit of everything, right? As a baby, I had a Muslim sister that babysit me, right? And then I had went to regular public school from kindergarten all the way to 3rd grade. And then from 4th grade to 7th grade, I went to Islamic school. Elnor School in Brooklyn was predominantly foreign, predominantly Palestinian, Egyptian, and the blacks were the minority there too as well. And then after that, I went to another Islamic school from 8th and 9th grade called Madrasat al-Islamiyya, it was ran by black people, black and Hispanic Muslims.
Wow.
And then after that, they didn't, high school was done. They didn't have a 10th, 11th, 12th grade. So my parents sent me to public school.
Right.
I went to Science Skills Center High School.
Okay.
So I had the best of both worlds,
right.
public school as well as Islamic school. Mashallah. And even in the Islamic schools was a difference.
Right.
It was definitely a difference going to a predominantly Arab school versus going to Madrasa Islamiyya, which is the black Muslim school, right?
Talk about that. How was it?
Oh, I had friends there, right? Like I had friends. The Palestinians was cool. The Egyptians was cool. The Syrians was cool. But I felt like some of the teachers were a little bit racist, a little bit. I hung out with the Pakistani girl, the Pakistani. And like one time we got in trouble for doing something stupid. It was just like, that's why we got in trouble. But there was definitely discrimination there. The first 2 black children to get expelled from that school they were black. The 2, one of the imam's son and my other friend Yahya. They were the first 2 people to get expelled from that school. They were black.
I got expelled from a school like that too.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. But overall, it wasn't bad. I mean, a lot of the students was cool.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm still friends with some of them to this day. The Palestinians and the Egyptians, right? So I got that diversity, like being around them, learning, like their culture. We're going back to the blood. They're like, okay, what's the blood? We're going back home, go to the bathroom, got PLO all over the world. I'm like, okay. So I learned a little bit about, their culture and stuff like that.
So with that kind of upbringing, how does that relate to your relationship with like foreign Muslims today?
Now, I think I'm a little bit more open-minded to some things that they do, right? Like for instance, I have peers, like they'll say, oh, they didn't greet me, they didn't give me the salam. But for me, it's not a big thing because I know, like, if you go to some of their countries, nobody walks around all day saying "Assalamu alaikum," right? So I don't take certain things like that personal. Like I'm like, okay, that's just how they are. They can be tended, they have some racial issues, but I don't think that they're aware of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like some people, they're just not in tune with it. So you got to point it out to them. Like, that wasn't appropriate. That was racist. That wasn't cool.
Right.
Did your parents talk to you about it?
No.
How did you maneuver through as it was, coming along?
You know what? I had a cousin that was a Hafiz. My uncle had passed away in London, but he sent her to Saudi to study. So she used to participate in the Quran competitions and she used to blow them out the waters.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
And it was Fatima and all the Arabs was like on her like, Fatima.
Shout out to Fatima.
She was like that popular black Muslim girl and she beat all the Yemenis, she beat all of them out the water with the Quran recitation, subhanAllah. So like, in our school, we had like a little respect for our family because of Fatima, she, mashallah, she represented in that school. So
we know you were born and raised Muslim.
Yes.
So this is a question that I like to ask. Can you think of a time when you chose to be Muslim? Like when you had to make a conscious choice, like this is who I am, this is how I live.
That coming to Allah moment, right? I think I was young. I think I was like probably 10 or 11
Whoa,
that I had that moment. I feel like I was spiritually like the strongest then, right?
Right.
Like I just felt like I was so connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I knew who Allah was. And it was like, I don't want to be anything else but Muslim. Like, I couldn't see myself being anything else. You know what I mean?
So like, but describe like what was happening, what was going through your mind, like
I was
was
so
it
young, but I think that Islamically, I think I just was so connected. You know what I mean? Being in Muslim school helped, right? And then like in our house, you know, everybody's raised different. You know, we had a lot of ta'leems. You know, we reading hadith, we reading Quran, and so all those things kind of reinforce things for me. You know what I'm saying? Going to lectures, right, at a young age. So I feel like those things played a part in my convictions and saying this deen is for me.
Were you the studious type?
A little bit.
So kind of going back to
a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Kind of going back to that.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time like as an adult when those things kind of were challenged?
In terms of my faith?
I mean, just
belief,
like how,
practices?
how secure you feel, like just.
I can't think of anything. I felt like I've always felt this way.
Alhamdulillah.
I always felt this way. And marriage protected me too.
Okay.
I would say, because I got married young.
Okay.
I got married when I was 18.
Okay.
Mashallah, I got married to a revert.
Okay.
And so I feel
we're gonna come back to this. These classifications in a second. We're gonna come back to these classifications. How did getting married at 18? How did that impact you?
It was a lot. First of all, you know, growing up in my household, it was like, if you want to be with a boy, you got to get married, right? But it was always understood, but we didn't talk about it. Like, it was talked about like in community, but it was just always understood. Like, you're gonna get married, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just it.
What do you feel like was missing when you say it was talked like?
My father never really talked to me about marriage when I was 17 or 18 years old. He never had that conversation saying, look, you know, if you find somebody, you know, do you want to get married? We never had that conversation. But I just knew that was the only way. You know what I mean? Like, because my older sister, she got married when she was 16.
Okay.
Okay.
Why is it so taboo in the Muslim community?
She got married when she was 16. Now, my other sister, she didn't. She had a baby out of wedlock, but that's another story. But it is what it is, right? It is what it is. We keeping it real here, okay? But me, I felt like I could never do those things, right? So it was like, okay, you got to get married. And so, mashallah, I married somebody that I went to school with. We was in high school.
High school sweethearts?
Yes, we were. So I got married when I was 18.
Okay.
Yep.
How long were you married?
About 8 or 9 years.
8 or 9 years?
Yep.
Okay. When we talked about like protection and conviction as an adult, you feel like it protected?
Yes, absolutely. It protected me from being in them streets. It did. Because I lived a married life. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't dipping and dabbing. He was more introverted, homebody kind of person. So it kind of protected me in a sense. I didn't really feel like, I wanted to be out there in the streets. I want to be in the club. Like, it just, I didn't want that for myself.
You know, it's one of the themes that like we see through people we've brought on is how like it's a very Muslim inclination to get married and how that impacts people's lives. You know, they don't always last, right? But how it just impacts people's lives most of the time for the better. And so much learning and growth that happens through that. So
I don't think I was fully prepared for that.
Right.
And I took it rough. It was rough.
Okay.
I would say I was a little rough in my 20s because I wasn't prepared. You know, I wasn't prepared. I mean, yes, they prepare you for, cooking, right? Cleaning, stuff like that, but not how to like navigate the communication, right? Conflict resolution, or even understanding a man and how they think. Like, I'm like, but it took some learning because it wasn't easy. It was rough. Getting married young was rough.
In that 9 years of marriage, what have you learned, and what could you tell like other sisters who want to get married at that young age?
Yeah, like what would you have wanted to hear?
Yes.
My father was kind of good at like telling me what to do from an Islamic perspective, but not implementing it, right? But I think that I would have liked for someone to kind of sit me down and like kind of talk to me like on a real level, like how to navigate certain things, right?
Like what?
communication,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do we respond when we're angry?
Yeah.
Because I was upset a lot. I was just like, it was a lot of resentment. It was a lot of resentment happening. And it was like not understanding the power of words,
Right.
not understanding, like, you know, watching what you say and how you say it and the tone that you're saying it, right? And you could get your husband to do so many different things if you know how to approach him, right? But sometimes, you know, you're so young and you're just like, I don't care, you know? So just learning how to communicate, how to talk to each other.
This is a problem that I didn't learn. I got married young too. Didn't know anything. How was intimacy ever talked about to you from your parents?
No.
So you had to learn all that stuff from the experience.
I learned it. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat. I've learned through school,
right?
Through peers.
I didn't learn it through school. My mom ripped the pages out the book. Shout out to Viola. she ripped the anatomy. She ripped the anatomy pages out the book.
Really?
Yeah, so we didn't even see it. So you learned it from school.
Yes.
But you didn't actually learn like what it actually meant to be.
Right.
Like what
now, when I say
intimacy
school,
was.
I meant people from school. Like peers,
not even
not
actual books.
No, like people, you know,
people
talk about it. Everybody, you know, I'm ear hustling.
But that was the only thing you learned from it.
Right.
And then you was just trial by fire.
Yeah, that's it.
Would you consider you having like a strict upbringing?
A little bit, but I felt like we did have flexibility, right? The poly thing made it a little bit flexible, I think.
Can you explain what poly? Because most people don't know what poly means.
So polygamy in Islam is when a man has more than one wife. In Islam, you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm not getting into the right hand possession thing. I'm not getting into that. With the right hand possession, we ain't gonna
that's a deep child right there. Like,
listen. But basically, polygamy is when, you know, a man has more than one wife.
How did that give you like flexibility when it came to
that? So my father did the every 2 day thing. So religiously. So every 2 days he was at our house, and every 2 days he was at my stepmother's house.
Okay.
So, you know, sometimes we had the calendar. Oh, Abby's not here. Woo! Like we was happy. We were happy. We was like, and my mother, she was an outgoing person. So she always took us out. You know, we went out to eat. We went on vacation. We traveled. So that was the flexibility. When he came home, it was a little bit more strict, a little bit more rigid. You know what I'm saying? But when Umi, mashallah, she gave us a lot of flexibility. And so, yeah.
All right. So in 2020, you found a group called BAMBAR.
BAMBAR, yes.
Talk about the acronym.
Okay.
And just the origins of how they came about.
Okay. So BAMBAR stands for Black American Muslims Born and Raised, right? And this group started in 2020. I started it. Actually, this idea has been brewing for a while. I used to talk to people in my community about things that I witnessed growing up. And I used to be like, sister so-and-so, like, did you realize like this or that? So we used to have conversations, you know, like amongst ourselves. But it always dawned into me, like, we need a space to talk about our experience, because some stuff was going down, okay? Like, for real. And then, you know, I'm very active on social media in some of these groups, right? And so sometimes I used to get in some of these groups and Islamic stuff used to come up. And I used to be like, I ain't grow up like that. I'd be like, who raised y'all? No disrespect. No disrespect.
So who raised y'all?
So is this amongst other Muslims, you saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So these are Facebook groups that have predominantly Muslim socializing groups. I ain't gonna name them on the mic, but we know some of them. They've been around for a long time.
Okay.
And sometimes it gets messy and ratchet. Being in those groups, it really opened my eyes to the BAMBAR experience. I said my experience is a little different than somebody who's a revert or a convert and understanding certain things in the deen. So that kind of really motivated me to be like, I need to create a group where we can get the born and raised together so we could talk about this, because this is important. I never felt like we had those spaces in our communities. You know.
So when you say talk about this, like name this.
When I say this, I mean the experience.
Okay.
Okay. So
of like growing up.
Yes, growing up.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Growing up, born and raised Muslim.
Okay.
Whatever community, because in our group we have all the communities, so it's not just one particular community. There's people from different type of movements, even non-movements, right?
Okay.
Like some people's parents came through college. So, you know, we talk about everything. And so that kind of motivated me to start the group.
Okay.
I said, I think it's time. You know, I think it's time. And mashallah, it's been an experience. It's been wonderful since I started it. I've gotten like so many people together. We talk about so many different things. I can't disclose all of it here. But we have a lot of similarities, but we also have a lot of differences, you know, in terms of our upbringing, you know.
Okay, so when you say you mean differences amongst like movements or just region, like
community. Yes.
Community?
So, yes. So maybe, you know, you might have grown up in the Imam W.D. Muhammad community, or you might grow up in the Dar, or you might grow up in the Tablighi Jamaat, right? Or whatever the case may be. And so certain people have different experiences. But even in those communities, households are different.
right.
So people implement Islam differently in their homes as well. That's a whole nother story, right? Like, so, you know, mashallah, it's been a learning experience, learning the different experiences and perspectives.
How big would you say your group is?
Right now we have over 600 people.
Okay.
It was a point where we had like 1,000 pending memberships.
Oh, wow.
People were trying to get in, but it's not easy to get in. It's
Okay,
not easy.
all right. Talk about the criteria.
It's not easy.
Talk about the criteria.
First of all, the group is hidden.
Okay.
Okay, so you can't find it on Facebook. Somebody in the group has to invite you. Then when they invite you, you got to answer the questions.
Couple questions.
Yeah.
Are you in the group, Musa?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I had to get invited in.
Huh?
I had to get invited in.
So
I only knew about it because my sisters were in there.
are the questions questions confidential, or just give me an example?
Okay, so one of the questions are: were you born and raised Muslim?
Right.
Okay.
And if you weren't born Muslim, what age did your parents convert? Because that's very important, right? Because maybe your parents converted to Islam when you were 6.
Okay.
Or 10 or 13.
Does that get you in? 6
it makes a difference. It depends. How you answer the question. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
How you answer the question?
Yep. It depends. It depends.
Secret society.
Also, another question is, what community did you grow up in? So I want to know, you know, who are you? Where did you come from? And some people took offense to it, like, you know, who y'all think y'all is, or it's not that deep. But for us, we're trying to really create community. And, you know, if you're born and raised into Islam, somebody knows who you are. Somebody knows your family, right? So I really ask, like, what community you come from, what city, and what community are you part of now?
So you have a team of like moderators, or
we do have some moderators and some admins.
But you like the one.
I'm
you the one, like,
me.
Like
that.
if you don't stamp it, it don't happen.
Listen,
she that.
I'm the only person that lets anybody in and out that group.
Right.
Okay.
Marshall, I'm the only one.
So you her.
So you can apply.
Yeah.
But then she gonna be like, "Oh, you from Philly," and she gonna call somebody
from Philly.
She gonna call somebody from Philly. Yo, you know this person?
Oh, for sure.
And they gonna stamp them.
For sure.
And then if they don't stamp them, you not getting it.
You get a verification from. I mean, not to toot my little horn.
She Mukhtara.
Go ahead.
I don't get the drop on anybody.
That's Miss Kennedy. Stop playing. That's Miss Kennedy.
I don't get the drop on anybody. I mean, it is what it is. But I need to verify who you are. I need to see like who you are. And so I have certain people that I inbox and I ask them or text them, you know, do you know this person, that person? You know, were they raised Muslim? Do you know their family? You know, it's serious business getting into the BAMBAR.
Out here.
It's serious business getting into the BAMBAR.
I was about to say, has there been any backlash? What has the backlash been?
Absolutely.
Like? What has it?
Absolutely. Oh man, where do I
start?
There's been a lot of backlash from our own community, like of Black Muslims. I'm like, dang, why y'all being like this? You know, because a lot of people are saying, you know, we're all born Muslim. We're all born on the fitra, right? So that's one of the main reasons why people are saying, why can't we come in? Because that's the reason. Okay. They want to come in. A lot of people want to come in.
Okay.
They want to interact with BAMBARs. They want to see what we're saying. And some people actually want to learn, like, from our experience as well, right? Because people are raising their children. So, you know, what better than the BAMBARs? Because we can tell you, we've been through it. We've been there and done it. Right. Right? So we can tell you what works, what doesn't work. But the biggest pushback has been, you know, we all are born Muslim. That's one thing. And I've gotten that from people that I don't know. I've gotten it from close friends. You know what I'm saying? People in my circle.
So it's somebody in your circle that wasn't born Muslim. And they're not in the group.
Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
No.
Like my wife cannot get in that group.
No.
Why not?
Because she's not a born American Muslim.
See, that's another thing.
She's from Somalia. She's from Kuwait.
Okay.
The American part is really
big part.
It's very important. Because people ask me too, like, why can't Africans come into the group? And their experience is very much different than a Black American Muslim, and that would change the whole dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's strictly
personally, and let me know if you agree.
Okay.
But I always say, like, you know, as Black people, like as a whole, we can only go but so far back. And then it's like an abyss of guessing what slave master you had, or if you even came from a slave master, or if, you know, you were born this and that and that. And the great thing that some of us envy from Africans is they can date their 10th grandfather from what tribe, what culture they come from. You got some people who can date all the way back to the Prophet. You know what I mean? And so it's completely different when your identity has been taken for so long and now you come back. So I think I know that stuck with me for a long time. Like, how do you feel about that? Like,
I mean, I'm trying to be politically correct. No, I agree. I mean, mashallah, I think I have beautiful African friends who can definitely
love my African brothers and sisters.
They have centuries of Islam into their family, and so their experience is unique. You know, a lot of them, some of them weren't born here, right? There's some of the, you know, some came at a young age, so their experience is different. Our experience is, you know, we have a lot of history here when it comes to establishing Islam. And so it's just two different experiences. So I'm not even trying to have us on the same. It just would cause too much friction.
So do you feel any like friction around like letting people in and not letting people in? Or
I have to maintain integrity, right?
Status quo.
Yep. And even my family members, they have to answer the questions. You know, my nephew is Bashir Jones. So even when he came, I said, listen, Bashir, I said, you got to answer the questions, because I don't want anybody to ever
Your nephew Bashir?
of, my first sister, that's her son. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So what do you?
I don't want anybody to accuse me of favoritism. You know what I'm saying? So I have to maintain. Everybody has to follow the same protocol. If it's my family or not, friends or not, you have to.
How do you feel about like claims that like the exclusivity of the group, or the like maybe it's a divisive thing? Like, how do you feel about that?
I don't feel like we're being divisive, right? First of all, we do have events that we have that are public, so it's for everybody. Anybody can come. We have meet and greets that are just for us, but you can bring your spouse, right? But I feel like I don't see anything wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? They have revert groups all the time. I seen a flyer. Yes, they sending reverts to Umrah. They ain't sending no BAMBARs to Umrah. I'm just saying. And our masjids, they have new Shahada classes. You know what I'm saying? So they do have things exclusively for reverts and converts. I feel like communities could do better, though. I feel like we can do better in some masajid, but I feel like you disagree. Okay,
right? You became Muslim. You became Muslim like what? Like in your 20s, 19,
like
20?
19, 20.
19.
I just talked to somebody like that
back then. How would you feel? But like, as you're in the,
you know, me being like, you know, the age that I am and being Muslim for the amount of time, to me, I see people born Muslim and people that convert. I mean, I just see the whole spectrum of it, right? So you had
stuck in the middle.
Well, I mean, you have people that are born Muslim who know a whole lot. And you have people that convert and who have a whole lot. But you have people that born Muslim that don't know a whole lot. And
it's true.
So for me, I could see how it could feel like it's divisive for somebody that converted. And I could see how the experience that you guys have, like you connect on experience about, you know, being raised and growing up in a, you know, polygyny and all of these things that somebody, so I kind of see both sides. You know, I kind of reserve like judgment. You know, like you said, like at one time I was a new Shahada before. You know, I just took Shahada or whatever. And, you know, I think it was like how welcoming the Muslim families were.
Okay. Wow.
Like that added to my whole experience, right? So
you also a community dude. Like he alhamdulillah, like I look up to him as far as like what he does for his community, what he does for his family, how he brings family together. It's really Muslim like. It's weird because when I'm around him, I forget he's a convert. I truly forget he's a convert until he mentioned it or something. Because the man go anywhere and be, it's yo, that's Rod, that's my guy. Like that's my brother. Oh, he been a part of this group. I think it comes from, especially the reverts that feel like they don't belong, is the people who kind of didn't come from that type of background. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a broad generalization.
I mean,
so
that's just my perspective from hearing it.
I appreciate.
That's my perspective from hearing it.
I mean, I just think that my nature is inclusive. So even when we talk about, we could be talking about fraternities and sorority, like, so my nature is like, when I hear something that's exclusive, that's just not really in my nature is. I'm gonna treat Muslim like I know them all his life. I what, a year? We might be working on a year. So
and no one knows that.
So I'm just inclusive by nature. So when it's things is like, it's a level of empathy that I'm like, man, like I'm okay, like, but how does the other person might feel and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Where you get that from though?
I grew up in a Christian household. My
practicing Christian household.
My grandmom had fellowship and all commute, like, everybody stopped over the house and get food and neighborhood block game. So it was just the way I was raised, but I'm inclusive by nature. So when I'm like, when I hear certain stuff, I'm inquisitive, right? So I'm gonna go to a conversation, right? That kind of, I was quiet during the conversation. This conversation happened after your fight. So,
Okay.
No. This is not. Okay. It was just very interesting to hear the perspective of, like, one of the problems is new shahadas, right? With the stuff that happens, right?
Wait, I didn't even hear this.
So that was kind of the conversation. Man, we gotta like police these shahadas, right? We gotta make sure that we just not giving anybody shahadas.
Wait, I agree with that.
Oh, because of that post.
But my thing is, what evidence or data you have to say that it's new shahadas that are committing whatever offenses that we are upset about? Like I said, like I know people on both spectrums. I know
same.
I know terrorists that was born Muslim versus terrorists that convert.
I agree. For
sure.
So it was just very interesting for me to hear this perspective without, man, it's them new people. They over there, they messing it up for everybody. And I was just like, it's them new guys. We got to watch who we letting in the group.
I ain't gonna lie.
But you know what? I think because as born and raised Muslims, we remember a time where this never existed, right? And so we would never think to do something like that at an Eid, right? Like, and so I don't know about Philadelphia, but from what I've heard, it feels like things have changed, the demographics.
It's a lot. It's a lot of kids born Muslim. That's all I'm like. It's just in general. It's nobody like when you look at the what happened. Like it's just automatically assumed that it's oh man, these new shahadas, oh these new Muslims. See, because I used to know everybody.
See, I ain't
but it's your cousin's kids. I'm not.
This is real.
It could be your cousin's kids who you ain't seen. You know what I mean? Like
that's true.
It's a lot of Muslims in a city like Philadelphia. Yes. Not just because people are taking shahada, because you got 12 brothers and sisters. My homie got 12 brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? So
15.
This is what I'm saying. So it was just real interesting to hear the conversation amongst
Muslims,
amongst born and raised Muslims, right?
We all was born and raised there.
All of them. Oh, everybody in there except for the people that was sitting at that table. Oh. No, even the person that you were sitting with,
right?
He was born and raised Muslim.
Oh yes.
So yeah,
it was just interesting.
It's definitely interesting. I mean, there is some biases that you have, being Muslim. There is some biases that you have. I don't know. I think it's black people. Black people have a bias towards other black people, depending on where you come from, depending on where you are. And so, yeah. And of course, the whole New York, Philly, Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a perspective about what Baltimore does wrong, what New York does wrong, what Philly does wrong. So I think,
Oh man, Philly get the.
They always
y'all
get a bad
get the
rap.
blues.
Y'all get the.
Oh my, I love, and I know you love Philly too, because
Yes,
she at every event.
Yeah.
I love Philly.
Yeah.
Like, you have to love Philly.
Yeah.
So being, in the community and being connected.
Yes.
Because I would assume you connected the Muslims up and down, like all over the country, right?
Yes.
How are you like what's your take on the current state of like Muslims and our culture and how it looks for Black American Muslims?
Oh man, it's a deep one. Oh man, it's
Drop the
changed a
tea.
lot.
Drop the
It's
tea.
changed a lot. I feel like back in the days, people kind of strive to be like good Muslims, right? And I feel like nowadays, it's just like I'm gonna go with how I feel, not go with this is what a lot of his messengers said. Everybody's just going with their feelings, doing what they want, and then when the ish hits the fan, and it's boo, like everybody's crying. Well, if you was doing what you was supposed to be doing, then you wouldn't be having these issues. So I think a lot of people are just floating around, just doing what they want to do. I feel like in some communities the leadership isn't strong. People have trust issues with leadership a lot now. Before it was a little different, but now I feel like people are just like, a lot of people are the mosque, and so that plays a part too, and just how the Muslims are. But it's a lot of mess going on, and there's no accountability. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go to the masjid to do anything now. People are just doing anything, or willy nilly, and so I think the problem is that we kind of strain away from the Quran and Sunnah.
Right.
I'm gonna be the Charlemagne of this thing.
Okay.
You think that comes from household dynamics?
It could be. Absolutely.
Second question to that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the courting and marriage scene when it comes to, like we said, being married at a young age stops a lot of the nonsense that you think you want to do?
Absolutely.
How you feel about the courting session?
It got piss and fecal matter in it. It's crazy. It's wild out here.
Piss and fecal matter?
It's crazy to do.
Drop the tea without dropping the personal tea. What's some stories?
Social media done changed the game.
Really?
For sure.
How do you feel like it has impacted?
It gives people easy accessibility to everybody.
Explain what you mean.
The DMs.
Okay.
It's nuts.
It's going down in DMs.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. With the singles and the marrieds, it's going down. It gives people easy access, right? So instead of going through, I'm gonna go to the Wali or the Wakil, I'm gonna go to the masjid, right? You just go to the DMs, right? And some people will talk and go and play the game as far as they can, right? And so sometimes it gets a little crazy, right? But I think that the marriage thing, it's a lot on both sides with the brothers and the sisters. I can't say that it's just the brothers.
Right.
And I can't, sisters have to have some accountability in how they moving in these streets too. Because sometimes the reason why brothers are moving how they moving is because Sister so-and-so was doing this.
Right.
So they think that now they could do it with every other sister. So that's another thing. But it's the social media, it's the easy access, right? And nobody's following Quran and Sunnah. Everybody's just doing what they want to do. And it's messy out here. And then you hear all these horror stories, and then you have all these unhealed people getting online, bleeding. So then everybody's looking, they're like, oh,
tell me about it.
I'm good. I ain't getting married.
Talk about
it. If it's like that out there, I ain't getting married. So people are scared.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I have friends that are doing bids out here, single bids.
When you say bids?
Bids. It's a bid.
What is that?
Single out here.
Like Tom being single, you mean?
8 years, 10 years, 13 years. Sisters got it on lock. Okay.
Like, what you mean got it on lock? They just not worried about ever getting married?
No, they haven't. They haven't got remarried. They've been chased. They've been...
What's the reason?
Not finding appropriate suitors. I don't know. I think that some people are really genuinely scared. I think so. And there's a lot of self-sabotaging going on too. You know what I'm saying? You might have a good brother, good sister, and then, it might be something small, and then now you're turned off, right?
Right.
And it's like... what happened? You're just sabotaging the whole situation. So that happens a lot too. But But we got to be honest. We got to be honest about where we're at. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people, just because you're single doesn't mean that you're looking to get married. Some people are just not ready to get married.
Right.
And people have a lot of work to do.
But I mean, how long do you give for the healing, for the reconstruction of yourself in order to build that family? Because that is Islam. In order for us to thrive, you gotta like build up progeny, not good not a bunch of progeny, but good quality Muslims. How long? Why are we giving ourselves so long for that?
It's crazy because some people are waiting so long, and then some people just jumping right into the next situation without even doing the work, right? I think people just have to start doing the work. You know, going to therapy. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. You know what I'm saying? Do it for as long as you need to do it. You know, people have to find out who they are. You know what I'm saying? Work through that. It is not always the other person, right? Sometimes the issue can be you. You gotta hold that mirror up, right? So you just have to do the work, inshallah, and just being conscious about being a better you, right? And being a better spouse, inshallah. I would say a year is good.
A year?
I think a year is good.
I think it's a year. I waited 6 months.
You did.
Listen,
I did that before.
I waited 6 months.
Truth be told, I did that before.
You know, listen.
Between my first and second marriage, it was 6 months.
6 months? I ain't gonna lie. I struck gold though. I'm mashallah, alhamdulillah. I struck gold. Like I wasn't really. I was like, you know, peeking here, trying to figure out what's going on. Because it's hard
for the brothers. I know it's hard to.
It's hard
to stay single.
It's I mean, no, we're gonna keep it honest. I'm gonna keep it 100. It's hard being you know, that public person that I am. It's definitely tough being you know single for that long. Like it's tough. So you do gotta put in the work though. I agree with you. Absolutely. You gotta do some therapy.
Absolutely.
And you gotta even do he's a big advocate on telling me that, you know, my poop stink. So he tells me like, yo, you did wrong here. You need to work on this. You need to work on this. So, you know, in retrospect, I'm like, all right, cool. I gotta let me fix this. Let me fix this. I ain't perfect, but you know, you need people around you that's gonna give you that.
Absolutely.
You know, he'd been married for 20-something years, so it's alhamdulillah. It's a good thing to see. Like, all right, that's what it takes to, you know, to be a leader and or work on yourself. So, but yeah,
I feel like me getting married fast was 6 months in between both marriages. I felt like I wasn't completely over the first husband, but also being in a long distance relationship kind of gave me the space that I needed to kind of heal while still being married.
Yeah, what's long distance? Sense?
He was in Qatar.
Oh my
you know what I'm saying? It took him about 3 years to come over here. So within those 3 years, I noticed, like looking back, like I had to do the work too.
Yeah, to sit with yourself, huh?
Yeah, oh for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
because I did get married fast. I was like, oh, I think I did, but you know, inshallah. Sometimes you carry that residual stuff. Sometimes you think you're over it, but you're not really over it. And then stuff comes up and it triggers you. You're like, oh, okay.
Listen, there are still triggers. I was just talking to my wife the other day, and something happened. It was so small, but it triggered me. And I had to talk about it. I had to tell her, like, hey, this is something that I didn't heal from yet. And so let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is still a little tender right here. But let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So you're right. You got
patient and understanding spouse.
You do. But alhamdulillah, man. It's struck gold for sure. You know.
But what do you see like in the youth, right? Like with young sisters. So you do some work at the masjid and stuff like that.
I haven't been as active now.
Okay.
I took a little break, but I do have my eye on the streets. So I'm sorry. What was your question?
No, I'm just saying, like, as far as the youth, like young Muslimas and some of the younger Muslims that's coming up, the generations that's coming up, like what do you see in that?
The youth. Oh man, where do I start with them? I feel like when I was younger, we used to kind of hide like when we did stuff, but them, they don't care anymore. Just like it is what it is. Like you don't have no discernment, like in terms of how you carry yourself in community. And some of them don't have good examples, right? Because some of their parents, they didn't see their parents go through some things. They didn't see their village auntie go through some things, and so that doesn't help, right? In terms of leaving a positive, mark on the youth. And I think that we want them to do better, but we got to do better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't have our stuff together,
Right.
so that's a problem too. But I think that there are some good people in community, and so
Right.
those are the people that need to be there to kind of, guide them and be, big like a big sis, right? But I feel like a lot of them are struggling with their faith. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, like their parents, like their kids don't want to become Muslim anymore, like at a certain time, and I'm like, that's really disheartening.
Why though?
That's a good question.
What do you think it is?
I mean, do you feel like this generation has some accountability when it comes to that, right? Because we talking about our kids, right? We talking about
we do,
So
it's hard. It's hard. Why do they feel that way? Because you've been Muslim for 18 years and now you're saying, I didn't really believe this. I really don't want to be Muslim. Like, what made them feel that way? I think that, again, it goes back to practicing Islam. Everybody practices Islam different in the household. Some people are Muslim, but was Islam implemented in the house? Did they see their parents pray 5 times a day, right? How often did they pick up the Quran? Some people, they didn't have that in their house.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people do. But it's really important that your children understand who Allah is.
Right.
If your children don't know who Allah is, then they don't have no foundation.
Right.
And it's deeper than just covering, wearing an overgarment or wearing a kimar. Like it's important for me that your children know who Allah is and who His messenger is. You know what I'm saying?
Go deeper into that. Like, what do you mean by knowing who Allah is, knowing who your prophet is? What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that?
Because people can read books all the time, but do they
true.
actually, like, how do they actually know what it means to believe in Allah? Because I have a perspective just from my part, but I want to hear yours. What's your you were born and raised Muslim? Right. How did your father implement it in the house?
No.
Okay.
I got nieces and nephews.
Okay.
She Auntie Mukhtara. She got a lot of kids. Alhamdulillah. But that's what a village is. But yeah,
mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
I feel like Islam was always strong in our house.
Yeah. Like what type of things did your father do?
Is where's the fear? Because the fear. The fear was there.
That's easy.
Fear Allah and His messenger.
That's easy. But what type of things did your father do in the house?
We always had like taleems, as we would
halakas,
say. Yeah. We used to have the taleems.
Halakha means circle.
Circle.
Like a gathering circle.
So they would have talks, Islamic talks amongst their family.
Was the talker.
Yeah, amongst the family.
We talk about Allah.
Yeah.
Okay.
After this, we talk about Allah. And even like when we did some things that weren't correct, he would always kind of like bring it back to Islam, to Allah and His messenger. The punishment and the blessings, right? The benefit of doing this. If you do wrong, correct it with a right, stuff like that.
So he taught you about the benefit as well as the punishment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. But he did put more fear though. It was more fear.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's a generation.
Yeah, it was.
Like that generation.
Scared straight.
At what age? I got a deep question.
But that worked for me though.
That worked for you.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, oh, that's a lot. Like,
I got a real question for you. At what age did you start thinking about the benefits to the point where it made you happy? Like thinking about Jannah, heaven, thinking about the good deeds that you need to get to heaven. At what part did you actually start saying like, there's repercussions to what I do, what I say? Was there a time, a place where you actually started smiling in your heart, not just talking about it, but smiling to talk about Islam and the beauty of it?
I think it was at 11, 12 years old. Yep. And I was wearing a cob at that time.
Wow.
I was. I wore it for 2 years
You was
religiously.
strong, sister.
Strong.
Yeah.
Strong,
You know, I'm
sister.
Muslim. It was like I'm Muslim and I'm proud, and I'm, you know, what I'm saying, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Was it a culture of niqab like in your area?
My mother wore it.
Okay.
So in the Ansar community, they did wear
Ah,
niqab.
right. In the Ansar
They
community
did. And my mother stopped at some point, but I always thought it was beautiful.
Right,
So I
right.
was like, I want to be like Umi.
So it's that example.
Yes, she said. Yeah, she definitely set a good example of how a Muslim woman should be and to cover, and that was motivating for me. So when I got like a little bit after pubic, you know, that kind of encouraged me to be like, okay, I want to, you know, dress modestly, you know, carry myself a certain way, you know, reading the Quran, knowing the benefits of that, you know, going to Islamic school, they teach you all of this. So, mashallah, that was a beautiful thing. And Umi taught me as well. You know, she's a community person. And so it's like, okay, you know, the more you do, the more Allah gives you, right? So all these type of things played its part in me feeling like, okay, like this, you know, you fear of Allah and then you have the blessings too.
Right.
You want to get that ajr, right?
You know, we grew up the same way.
Yep. How old were you? Because I feel like the boys had I don't know if you guys' experience was different.
20 when I got in the BAMBAR.
Really?
2020.
Really?
Yep, 2020.
Is when you started to feel that way?
Like I always felt like this certain relationship with Allah, but my anger took over and resentment towards like having that extreme parents type thing. My anger took over for a long time. So I ain't really worried about it, but alhamdulillah, it was like 2020 where matter of fact, it was the Muslim boxer thing.
Wow.
I said if I'm gonna take this claim as the Muslim boxer, I'm gonna make sure I represent being Muslim. But in order for me to represent being Muslim, I gotta actually be Muslim. So all the lectures that I used to listen to, I started going back over them, and like the understanding of having a little bit of adulthood now and being married, it really resonated with me a lot more. It was like becoming Muslim again.
Wow.
Real talk.
Like a rebirth. Like,
Yeah.
I've talked to people born Muslim that said they actually took Shahada again.
I felt like I took Shahada too.
Really? Like that literally wanted to take Shahada.
Really?
I felt like I wasn't Muslim for a long time.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's good though.
But I envy you because you like the love that you say you had 10 and 11.
I was young. My older siblings, I seen them go through a lot.
Like, what's the age gap?
Okay, so Imani, she would have been like, she was born in like late 60s.
Okay,
Then
okay.
Umar,
So, and you was
early
born in
70s.
right. So you have
So I seen the transitions that my older siblings went through. A lot of them struggled a lot, right? But I felt like, I don't know, I was a little different in the sense of a little bit more religious, a little bit more, you know, trying to stick to a certain way. But my younger brother, you know, I feel like maybe you kind of can relate to his experience a little bit. He has he's angry. I think he's angry. And I hope he comes back out of that space.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Because there's a lot of resentment there.
What's your vision for BAMBAR?
Inshallah, I definitely want to have more chapters.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, we do have support in certain states, the cities and states, but also just coming together.
About how many cities, states you feel like you're in right now?
We have a stronghold in the DMV area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Philly.
You got a stronghold here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I don't see her I thought she was from here.
Okay.
No, there's a lot of BAMBARs that alhamdulillah got a lot of support in Philly, especially you know Naima Kabir. Me and her run BAMBAR together. So mashallah, the Philadelphia, the DMV area. We did have our meet and greet in Detroit, so we do have support out there. Atlanta, everywhere, but it's more stronger on the East Coast.
I think I heard that it was like a cruise or something.
Yes, we are going on a cruise.
Wow,
almost 100 of us.
Wow,
Inshallah.
That's pretty.
Next week we're going on a BAMBAR cruise. BAMBAR family and friends.
I'm eventually go with y'all.
Your relatives are coming.
Huh? I know. Oh, I know.
You know. Okay.
They like, you ain't going. I'm like, nah, I can't right now, but I will.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impressive. You know, like like what you do.
No, it's definitely.
Thanks for just coming and talking about it.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, it's been great.
Well, now before we end, you know, we got some little fun, little jokey questions, lighten the mood a little bit.
Okay.
Your favorite New York saying?
Oh. It's whatever. Nah, son.
Nah, son. Nah, B.
Nah, B.
That's you bugged out.
Word is bond. Like y'all still say
Word
that?
is
Y'all say that no more? All right.
Dudes don't be saying yo son.
Yeah, we say yo son, yo.
Son.
I thought she was gonna have on Tim's when she got here, y'all.
Tim's in the summer.
The butters in
Not
the
the
summertime.
All right. So look, what's your favorite Philly slang word?
John.
Yeah.
She said that quick.
You said it. You said it like you had experience.
Sometimes, and I'll be like, yo, that's
John.
crazy. I done picked up some Philly slang. I did.
Now-
John is my favorite.
John.
John is my favorite.
Now, we got New York is like the bedrock for food every year. Choo!
Yes.
Now, what's a good pizza spot?
Oh.
And then overall,
Pizza.
what's like your best spot in your hometown?
The best halal spot.
Best halal spot. Let's look at the Biha.
Listen.
Okay. They have the Soul Spot downtown Brooklyn. If you want some soul spot,
Okay.
some soul food.
Some soul food.
Okay.
We love soul food.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, it's good.
Some
They
good
have the
halal
black
ham
naan.
hocks.
Stuff a lot.
Wait, what did he say? I ain't hear you.
I said some good halal ham hocks.
Halal ham hocks.
There is a black Muslim that owns a food truck called the Black Nile.
Okay.
So that's some good eats.
We got to
too.
try that.
Yes. If you want good African food, we got that too.
Talk about it.
Gotta go uptown.
Wait, what part of Africa? We talking about Senegalese? We talking about
Senegalese, Gambia,
okay.
Guinea, that area. They got some good food.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to go uptown, you find some good food.
Okay.
Pizza, I don't know.
You not a pizza pacer?
I do, but
Oh.
I can't remember like off the top. But Not Raised Pizza is good on Fulton Street.
Okay.
So like, there's a mural over there.
Now, is it
with
because of the
Biggie
dough or is it because of
With who?
like the full pizza?
You heard the New York come out with who?
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls.
The illest.
baby.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a mural talking about spread love. That's the Brooklyn way.
Mm.
So right there on
Okay.
Fulton Street near the Havana, and they have Not Raised Pizza. They got good pizza.
All right. So,
Yep.
what did you want to be when you was growing up?
I wanted to work for the United Nations.
And do what?
Really?
I wanted to do some diplomacy. I wanted to go to countries. You know, I'm big on just like the news, journalism, policy.
Okay.
So I always wanted to join the United Nations. I thought that if I joined the United Nations, I could make an impact
Wow.
in the world, but I never did it. But
Wow.
I mean, you make an impact, you know, with
absolutely. Allah put me where I need to be.
Alhamdulillah.
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 Alhamdulillah. But I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to work for the United Nations.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That's a
Yeah.
different one. Yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Man, we appreciate you.
I'm not gonna lie,
How did I do?
you did great. I got
Okay.
some great insight
You did?
on BAMBAR.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I would say how can people get in touch with you, but it's so
They
secret.
can email us at
Listen.
bambornandraised.
You can try. You can try. You can try.
You can try.
There's no promise, but you can try.
You
People
can't
have tried
enter.
to infiltrate.
You can try. But there will be.
So you've had people that try to infiltrate.
Oh, for sure.
Have you found them out?
I have not. But some people I did. And it was like, oh, you know good and well that you was not born and raised Muslim. So me and the other admins, we catch it and we remove it. We be like, nah, y'all know good and
We
well.
catch that.
Yep, catch it. Ain't
Hey,
no slipping and sliding inside the bell.
you can't go nowhere. Listen.
Y'all exclusive.
Listen,
Y'all exclusive
we're
group.
exclusive, but we're for the community, right? And so
Absolutely.
Like, the greater goal is to
We
kinda,
show up. They show up to everything.
Mashallah.
Everything for born and raised
Alhamdulillah.
Muslims.
When it's
Don't be like
a,
that.
I'm just saying.
hear me out. I got to
I
admit,
try to support.
when there's a Muslim event, they do show up. Like you can
They came
see it.
to your fight, right?
They all came to my fight.
But you born and raised.
They came to the Muslim, that more Muslim heritage,
Listen,
Muslim Heritage Festival.
But listen, I support all the Muslim events. I run a page called the BAM 411.
Okay.
So that's a page where like all the events and flyers and like anything that's happening in the Black Muslim community, I
They
put
share
on
it.
there. I put it on there because I'm
If
like,
it's
listen,
black,
I get
they sharing
information all day, every day. Everybody needs to know about this. You know what I'm saying?
I do
Yeah.
agree that it is, things that groups have that
Yeah.
are unique to them. Right?
Absolutely.
I was raised a certain way. And,
Yes.
in a certain era, and people that, you know, we connect on certain things.
Yes. So I don't want people to be offended or be like, you know, they trying to, you know, separate themselves. It's just, you know, we just need that space for us to kind of talk about things that.
How do you manage that to make sure you're not offending people, or or to make sure it's not a separatist movement?
I feel like people have been very respectful so far. Okay. It hasn't gotten out of line where people have been bashing converts, even though I've heard those claims and it's untrue and unfounded, right? Like we chill. Yeah.
But she delete. If you posting something that's crazy, it's getting deleted.
But I've heard just in general in this conversation, like it's some very key identifiers.
There is.
Yeah, I married a guy. He's a revert. You know what I mean? Like
out, but it was a different experience for me.
It's different.
It was
for sure.
I'm just saying, like it's clear.
Yeah. But listen,
it's a clear identifier that people use.
Some BAMBARs need to be with reverts as opposed to being with their own, and that's another story.
I will say this.
Even his language, like be with their own.
I will say this. It's like if there was a Philly group. If there was a Philly group.
Philly group of what?
I don't know, just Philly group, like a West Philly group, a North Philly group. If there was if there was a Philly group that said like, oh, only Philly people can be in there, how you gonna be in? Or what part of town you from? Blah blah blah.
But we talking about hypotheticals when this is a real thing. We don't
I think what makes it better is the fact that it's not a seen group. You got to know, like you got to hear of it, and you got to hear of it in order to know of it.
But I'm not trying to separate. It's just the fact of it's just a different experience.
No, I'm trying to separate. No,
because it did have, you know, there were differences being married to somebody that was a revert. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing certain things, having to be patient with his journey, you know, as well. So
I'm just saying I see those things happen.
The wording.
No, I mean just I've seen reverts. I don't even like the terminology to me is off-putting. But I've seen people like just across the spectrum, whether you was born Muslim, whether you became Muslim later, where you at in your journey as far as acceptance, knowledge.
Absolutely.
Like I know people born Muslim and only know a few surahs. I know people that took Shahada 2 years ago and know juice. Right?
You can't tell my father. My father became Muslim in his 30s.
So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
But you can't tell. He taught me Quran.
MashaAllah.
So it's just interesting these perspectives.
Yes.
Especially me, like you know, my perspective, not being a part of like the major movements and not having like this Muslim family. Even though most of my family is Muslim now, but still, like just the perspective. So,
how old were you when you converted?
I was like 19.
Okay,
I was probably 19.
Wasn't
and
it
I'm
you?
meeting a lot of people in that age group, like between 13 and 18, that converted, and I feel like it's a very tricky place to be in, right? Because it's like you're young and you're still young, so you're actually like growing up into the deen, but you still have experiences from your previous life, you know what I'm saying, prior to Islam.
Yeah, praising Jesus.
So
previous life.
That journey is definitely different.
That's,
you know,
that's what it was.
It's very unique.
Yeah, it is. So
because I have people that are in that group who's, you know, in that age bracket who say, you know, like I converted when I was a teenager, and they want to come in.
You know what it is?
I got kids that I got kids I raised Muslim.
Yeah,
18, 19, 20 years. My kids could be in, but their parents.
Yeah, your kids can be.
That's interesting, right?
You know what it is?
That is interesting.
You and your wife can talk about how you felt about Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big
hey, listen,
thing.
that's where you draw the line. You're right. You drew the line right there. We can talk about Christmas. Line drawn.
You can't talk about church.
Don't even come.
Talk about
we
Jesus.
over here. Right. We over here. Y'all over there.
Y'all talk. You can talk about your experience of debunking that you didn't think that Jesus was God anymore. You can talk about that. Like there's a big difference.
It's nuances in all.
Yeah, that's exactly what. But we don't have that experience, so we can never talk about.
So okay, so y'all get to be in a separate group. I get it.
Yeah, son.
Were you getting waterboarded at Fajr?
Waterboarded at Fajr?
Oh my God!
I mean,
I
Yo,
want to cry a little bit of no.
I'm telling you.
Wake your
no,
butt
I
up.
didn't
It's-
pull.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
what
there's
I'm saying.
levels to this trauma.
I
But
mean,
you- but
I
you-
mean, I could talk about different, I didn't pray, I didn't go to church, like all
Right,
stuff like that.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
spiritually,
it's
you can talk
similar,
about.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and I think in general, during that time,
Mhm.
black men from that generation had a level of discipline with them. Had
Absolutely.
the grandmoms had a level of sternness
Absolutely.
and all of this.
Absolutely.
So I think that crosses
I feel like
some
those
boundaries, but
people are
and I'm
Muslim.
not saying it's the same.
No,
I'm not
yeah.
saying the same.
I feel like those
Yeah.
people, like I said before, they helped us become Muslim.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
so Mukhtar,
Mashallah.
we appreciate
Yeah,
you,
this
man.
is dope
This has been
conversation.
great. How you feel?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
this
cool.
is-
I'm
this
gonna
is
get more to
great.
talk about.
Nah,
All right. This was great.
Hey,
We gotta
man.
have you on again, yeah, for sure.
Season 2,
Mashallah.
episode 8, Third Party
Episode 8.
Podcast.